Welcome to Neo and Jiho Part 59. Remember to subscribe and tap the notification bell not to miss any part. After lunch, Insu led Tumi out of the restaurant. He opened the car door for her, and once she was seated, he circled to the driver's side. His movements carried a quiet determination, though his mind was already occupied with the preparations he had begun that very morning. The moment the engine started, his phone vibrated with a new message. He glanced quickly at the screen mounted beside the wheel. It was from Neo. Attached were 3 sketches, neatly arranged in one frame, showing the dresses she had designed earlier that morning after his private request. They were elegant, deliberate, and drawn with the care of a sister who understood Tumi's taste better than anyone else. The sight made Insu's heart beat faster, though he kept his eyes on the road. He did not open the details. Not yet. Beside him, Tumi adjusted her seatbelt and leaned slightly toward him, watching the city roll by. Before she could say anything, her phone rang. She pulled it from her bag and saw Neo's name on the screen. Tumi answered immediately. "Hello, sister." Neo's voice came through, steady and warm. She asked if Tumi would be staying at the villa this week. She asked about her classes, when she would be back from the university, whether her schedule was heavy. Tumi smiled faintly and replied, "We just finished lunch. Insu is driving me now. We are almost home. Look through the window. I can already see the villa from here." On the other end, Neo laughed softly, relief in her tone. She said she would wait upstairs. Tumi agreed and ended the call with a short goodbye. Inside the car, silence stretched briefly, but it was a comfortable silence. The kind that carried meaning without words. Insu glanced at her, then back to the road. "We've arrived," he said quietly as the car slowed at the entrance. Tumi turned to him, her hand lingering on the seatbelt before she unfastened it. "Thank you for lunch." He leaned slightly toward her, not too close, just enough to catch her eyes. "I'll miss you this afternoon." Her lips curved into a small smile. "Then call me. Don't keep me waiting too long." His own smile deepened. "I will." She stepped out of the car, pausing to wave once before heading up the short path toward the villa. Insu watched her until she disappeared inside, then he shifted the gear and drove away, his thoughts firmly divided between the business he still had to handle and the growing weight of the secret plan for the weekend. Inside the villa, Tumi's steps echoed lightly against the polished floor. The first people she saw were grandmother and Kang Bora. They were seated together in the lounge, their conversation quiet but full of warmth. The sight made Tumi straighten her posture immediately, respect written in her expression. Tumi closed the door softly behind her and crossed the room to her sister. Neo didn't stand. Her body carried the weight of her 5th month of pregnancy, but her arms lifted with a quiet invitation. Tumi leaned into the embrace, and for a moment they said nothing at all. The silence was not empty, it was full of understanding. Neo pulled back first, her eyes thoughtful. "I called the pastor this morning," she said, getting straight to the point. "And later, Uncle's son picked up. Do you remember the land we earmarked for the project?" Tumi's eyes lit with quick curiosity. "Yes. What did he say?" "They bought it," Neo replied with a slow nod. "The payment cleared, and the deed has been recorded. He says they can start clearing by midweek." Relief softened Tumi's shoulders. "That means the timeline holds." "It does," Neo said. "He asked if you wanted any changes before they break ground." "I do," Tumi answered firmly. "But not about the buildings yet. About our parents." Neo tilted her head. "The graves?" "Yes," Tumi said gently. "We should redesign them. Not extravagant, just clean, dignified. Cement them properly, modern lines, their names clearly engraved. A small space to sit, maybe a planter for flowers, that's enough." Neo's breath caught, like a thread being pulled free. "Yes, that's right. I've wanted that, but I didn't know when to say it." "Say it now," Tumi replied. "We'll make it part of the first phase. Graves restored, then ground cleared for the project." Neo's eyes warmed. "I'll send the instruction tonight. Respectful modernization, cement finish, legible engraving, space to sit. And if it's possible, Tumi added softly. A small shade, so that when we visit we don't stand under the harsh sun. Neo nodded. I'll include it. The quiet returned between them, but it was a quiet laced with purpose. Then Tumi tilted her head, watching her sister closely. How are you holding up? Neo smiled faintly, shifting in her seat. Almost month 5 now. Yesterday the back pain was loud. Today it's softer. You need to keep the basics tight, Tumi said in a careful, professional tone that carried the weight of her medical training. Hydrate more than you think you need. Make sure your diet keeps calcium and vitamin D balanced. Don't skip your prenatal vitamins. Take short walks. They help circulation. And gentle stretches, pelvic tilts, cat-cow, even wall slides. Always support your back when you sit. And when you rest, lie on your side with a pillow between your knees. It keeps the spine aligned. Neo listened carefully, nodding. That's why I like talking to you. You don't just ask, you tell me what to actually do. Tumi's smile was warm. I'm your sister and your nurse. I can't separate the two. Neo hesitated before adding, I'm planning a C-section. Tumi didn't flinch. Then that's your choice. And if that's what you feel is safest, we'll support you fully. Just keep yourself strong before and be prepared for the recovery afterward. Focus on circulation, posture, and rest. Let your body heal at its own pace. Neo's eyes softened with gratitude. You always make me feel steady. That's my job, Tumi said, to steady you the way you've always steadied me. Neo reached for her sister's hand and squeezed it gently. You know, I prayed for this once, just to sit with you, to talk about family, about the future, about life. And here we are. Tumi smiled, her eyes glowing. And here we are. Neo leaned back against the pillows, watching her sister with a knowing smile. Tell me about your day. Tumi's lips curved into a shy smile. I already have my visa. Everything went smoothly. The fingerprints, the photos, all of it. And Neo, you don't know how I felt walking beside him in that place. Everywhere we go, people bow to him. They respect him. He carries himself with such quiet power. But inside, he has the richest heart. Neo nodded slowly. That makes sense. He has that kind of influence. Strong, steady. More than people realize. Yes, Tumi agreed. He's greater than I ever thought. Every day he shows me more of himself. Neo tilted her head thoughtfully. And what about you? How do you feel, really? Tumi's voice softened. Honestly, if Insu proposed to me today, I would say yes without hesitation. I used to be cautious, afraid of the weight of commitment. But now I don't even want to spend a night without him. Since the whole thing with Elias, he's opened up. He's more upfront, more direct, more certain, and I love it. Neo's laughter bubbled gently. That's the man who can manage you. You're not someone who can live with a man who fears his own shadow. You need a man who knows what he wants and takes the lead. Tumi chuckled. But why was he so hesitant before? Maybe, Neo suggested, because of the fights back home? Those things leave scars. Maybe they made him feel inferior then. But now, he has to fight for you. He has to stand tall for you. And he's doing it. Tumi's eyes softened, her voice tender. You don't know how amazing it feels, Neo. To be loved like this, it's overwhelming, but in the best way. Neo reached out and pulled her sister close. I'm happy for you, Tumi. Truly happy. Tumi leaned into the hug. I wish he would come back and collect me tonight. I want to go sleep at his place. Neo smiled knowingly. Now you see why I always wanted to be near Jiho. When love is real, it pulls you like gravity. Tumi laughed. It really does. Neo gave her a small nod. All right then, let me go freshen up. Jiho will be home soon. Tumi stayed behind in her bedroom, her thoughts lingering warmly on Insu. Neo had just returned to her room, the quiet of the villa wrapping gently around her after a long morning. She had not expected the day to hold anything more than rest, perhaps a quiet talk with her grandmother later in the afternoon. As she moved toward her dresser, her phone buzzed on the table. She glanced at the screen. It was Jiho. Her lips curved into a soft smile as she picked it up. Jiho? His voice carried warmth, steady yet tinged with a kind of secret excitement. Neo, someone is going to bring some things for you at home. Neo straightened, curiosity sparking in her chest. Some things? What kind of things? Jiho chuckled, refusing to answer directly. You'll see when it arrives. She let out a small sigh, half amused, half impatient. You're not going to tell me anything? Not today, Jiho replied firmly, but there was tenderness in his tone. Then his voice softened, quiet enough that it felt like he was leaning close even through the phone. I missed you, Neo. I can't wait to see you tonight. Her heart lifted at his words. She leaned against the dresser, holding the phone tighter. I missed you too, she whispered. You don't know how much. There was a pause between them, the kind of silence filled not with absence but with presence, like a touch held in the air. Then Jiho cleared his throat gently. Just be ready for this evening. We've been invited somewhere important. Before she could ask more, the sound of knocking came at her door. Neo blinked, glancing toward it. Someone's here, she murmured. Good, Jiho said on the line. That must be what I sent. Neo lowered the phone, telling him she would call back. She opened the door. The maid stood politely, her hands holding a tall bouquet wrapped in silk paper and a box tied with a satin ribbon. For you, madam, the maid said softly, stepping forward to place the gifts on the table. Neo's eyes widened, her breath catching as she looked at the flowers, roses, lilies, and delicate baby's breath all woven together in a cascade of color. Nestled within the bouquet was a white card sealed in an elegant envelope. Her fingers trembled slightly as she opened it. Inside, Jiho's handwriting was bold and deliberate, every word written as if it carried weight. To my Neo, every day with you is brighter than the last. Tonight, when I return home, we will step into a new memory together. Taiho has invited us to meet his family, and I want you beside me, radiant as always. Her throat tightened as she read the words again. He had thought of everything. He had thought of her. Neo pressed the card against her chest, her smile blooming through a rush of emotion. Then she noticed the box. She untied the ribbon carefully, almost reluctant to disturb its perfection. Inside, folded neatly against velvet, was a red dress. Its fabric shimmered in the light, not gaudy but refined, carrying a beauty that was commanding yet soft. The kind of dress chosen by a man who knew her, who wanted her to stand at his side not just as his wife, but as his equal. Her hand lingered on the fabric. The screen lit up and Jiho's name appeared. She picked it up quickly, her heart lifting the way it always did when she saw his name. Jiho, she said softly, her voice warm. On the other end, Jiho's tone was affectionate but carried an undertone of hesitation. Neo, there's something I need to tell you. Tonight, we have to attend an event. It's the company's annual gala dinner. I should have mentioned it earlier, but with everything going on, it slipped my mind. Neo sat upright. When the call ended, Neo placed the phone down, her chest fluttering with a mix of excitement and nerves. A gala, a guest of honor. Jiho wanted her at his side. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, Insu was busy with his own preparations. He had given very specific instructions to a courier earlier that morning. The package was special, a carefully crafted blue gown folded neatly in silk tissue paper inside a white box. This wasn't just any dress. It was based on sketches Neo had once designed for her sister Tumi. Insu had taken those drawings, sent them to a trusted designer, and had the gown created with precision. The delivery reached the villa just before evening. Tumi, surprised by the knock on her door, opened it to find the large box waiting for her. Inside, the dress shimmered as though it had been made just for her. Almost immediately after she lifted it out, her phone rang. It was Insu. Tumi! His voice was warm and steady with a hint of excitement. Did the package arrive? Tumi held the gown against herself, unable to stop smiling. Yes, Insu. It's beautiful. Tonight there's a company's dinner. I'll be coming to pick you up. Wear that dress. You'll look perfect in it. Her eyes sparkled. "Thank you. I'll be ready." When the call ended, she stared at the gown again, her heart racing. Something about it felt significant, as though the night carried more than just a dinner. A few minutes later, Neo entered Tumi's room after hearing the laughter from inside. She found her sister holding up the blue gown. "Look at this," Tumi said eagerly. "Insu sent it. He said we have a company's dinner tonight, and he's coming to pick me up." Neo's eyes widened as she studied the dress. The memory of the sketch she had once shared with Insu flickered in her mind. The lines, the folds, the exact detail, it was the same. "That's wonderful," Neo said, forcing her voice to stay light. Tumi pressed the gown against her body and twirled slightly, smiling. "It's perfect. I can't wait." Neo nodded, but inside questions stirred. She herself had received a gown earlier, a rich red dress Jiho had arranged. When she compared the two, a realization gnawed at her. Could this dinner be something more? Could this night lead to Tumi's engagement? She didn't voice her doubts. Instead, she smiled gently at her sister. "You'll look beautiful," she said, helping Tumi adjust the gown against her frame. Inwardly, Neo promised herself she would make sure Tumi was perfectly prepared, no matter what the evening held. The villa filled with the quiet bustle of preparation. Upstairs, mirrors reflected gowns and careful hands adjusting hair. Neo slipped into her red dress, its fabric flowing with elegance, hugging her curves while allowing freedom of movement. She pinned her hair back just enough to reveal her earrings, and when she turned to the mirror, she almost didn't recognize the woman staring back, composed, radiant, and ready to stand at Jiho's side. In the other room, Tumi was equally transformed. The blue gown fit her like it had been designed for no one else. Her afro-kinky hair framed her shoulders naturally, making her look both regal and effortless. She turned once in front of Neo, and both sisters laughed with excitement. "You're glowing," Neo said warmly. "So are you," Tumi replied, and for a moment the weight of hidden questions eased between them. The sound of engines in the driveway announced the arrival of the men. Insu's sleek black car pulled in first. Dressed in an immaculately cut suit, he stepped out with calm confidence. When he entered the villa, his eyes searched for Tumi. She descended the staircase slowly, the blue gown glistening with each step. Insu's breath caught. "You look incredible," he said quietly, almost reverently. Tumi blushed. "Thank you." He offered his hand, and she placed hers in his. Together, they moved toward the door. Moments later, Jiho's car arrived. Neo waited by the entrance, her red gown glowing under the soft lights. Jiho stepped out in his dark suit, his tie perfectly set, his presence commanding but softened by the warmth in his eyes when he saw her. "You take my breath away," he murmured as he reached her.